Who's the giant green lizard that decides to always give Mario and Luigi a hard time? Bowser, that's who. In almost every Mario game, Bowser is usually the main villain, and a lot of his fights could be either okay, fantastic, or just downright not great. But there are some amazing fights. So today in this list, I will be counting down the top 10 best fights that you fight Bowser in Mario games. So without further ado, let's get started. 10. Super Mario 64. You know I had to put this on the list. It's an instant classic. You fight Bowser 3 times in this game. The first fight is nothing special, but timing your throws to launch Bowser into the bombs can be a bit tricky at first. The second fight is way better because you're over lava and Bowser will tip the stage, so you have to stay on the stage while it's almost completely vertical. And then in the last fight, it has orchestrated piano music, Bowser's rainbow, and you have to launch him into the bombs 3 times instead of 1, all while the stage is falling. While the fight may not be that hard after you get used to it, it is still really fun. 9. Super Mario World. This is honestly, in my opinion, one of the most underrated Bowser fights because it's actually really interesting. First off, the sprite art looks gorgeous. Bowser looks really good and about as realistic as you could get for the time. And that Koopa clown car, man, when it comes at you in 3D, it is so cool. Anyway, the first part of this fight has Bowser throwing Mecha Koopas at you, which you have to then toss back at him and hit his head. This part could take a little bit because Bowser has a lot of hit points. And then, the next part, Bowser will toss a giant ball at you, and then he'll do it again, and a few times, and then you have to jump over it while also trying to hit him with more Mecha Koopas. It's really interesting, and it'd be actually a lot harder if Peach didn't come in and throw you a mushroom every once in a while. And also, let's not forget the raining fire. Bowser will have sentient fire, I guess, come out from the sky and attack you. This fight is extremely underrated, and not nearly as talked about as much as it should be. 8. Super Mario Galaxy 2. This fight looks beautiful, and the orchestrated soundtrack is phenomenal in this fight. I love it. Now, this fight actually has a really cool premise. Bowser is punching you as you're on a small little planet, and eventually you'll have to hurl meteors back at him. This sounds awesome, and for the most part it is, except if you've heard people talk about this fight before, you know that there's one big flaw. It ends way too soon. When this fight just starts to get going, it just stops like that. This whole fight lasts about 2 minutes, which is absurd. I hate it so much. Because this fight is actually really cool. It has such a cool premise. You gotta launch meteors back at Bowser, and he has some sort of magic punch, I guess. But I get it. It was hard to top Super Mario Galaxy 1's boss fight because of how awesome it was. Spoiler alert, it's in this video. And this fight really is awesome, but it could have been so much greater. 7. Super Mario 3D Land. It blows my mind that this is running on a 3DS. Even back when Nintendo didn't really get a firm grip of the hardware yet, and they didn't know how to make super flashy games, this game still looks beautiful, and this boss fight is so cool. You're running up a tower while Bowser is spewing these giant fireballs at you, and you got to avoid Goombas, and you got to, I guess, walk on a tightrope. And then there's even a reference to the original Donkey Kong where Bowser starts throwing barrels at you, and then the tower starts to crumble a lot faster, and you got to climb up it while Bowser is spitting white fire at you. Man, there's a lot of really cool action going on. And then in the end, you got to get past all these bricks, and you got to use the Tanuki suit to break them all, and you got to get Bowser to destroy the bricks with his tail and stuff. And then there's a giant button, and it is so intense, and I just love it. I really do. This is another boss fight that is super underrated. 6. Bowser's Fury. Man, this fight is so interesting. The latest installment in the Mario series has you fighting a goopy, rage-riddled Bowser, and he'll throw these I don't really know what they're made of, but he'll throw these spikes at you, which you have to launch back to knock him on his shell. That way you could deal a ton of damage. And it is so cool. You turn into Goku Cat Mario, and he looks awesome. The heavy metal guitar in the background is so cool. And after you're done fighting Fury Bowser, he'll get these glowing white eyes, and you'll have to get him using Plessy, and you'll have to knock the ball, this like glass ball, into his stomach, which, now that I think about it, that sounds really painful. Getting a massive ball getting slammed into your stomach. Oof, poor Bowser, man. Anyways, this fight is so cool, and in the end, the way Bowser's defeated is Massive Cat Plessy. That's right, Plessy uses the power of all 3 Gigabells and turns into this huge monster and just topples Bowser. Man, even though you fight Bowser a lot in this game, and a lot of the fights could be repeated, it is still really fun. 5. New Super Mario Bros. 2. First off, I'd just like to say that a lot of people consider this to be the worst New Super Mario Bros. Game, and yeah, while some elements may not be super interesting, I want people to stop thinking it like that. The only reason people hate this game is because it came out at a time where New Super Mario Bros. Was just overwhelming the series. And so many elements of this game are overlooked when you're talking about it, and this boss fight is definitely one of them. Yeah. It starts with the classic fake out, yada yada yada. You fight Bowser, it turns out to really not be the end. And then, of course, Bowser grows giant. But the rest of the boss fight is amazing. You have lava that's constantly rising. So if you fall, that's it. It's a one-hit KO. And you'll have bone platforms that freeze when you're on them. And Bowser will try and swat you away. When the platforms freeze, it could be harder to climb upwards. And of course, when Bowser swats you away, it's kind of hard to avoid, guys, I'm not going to lie. I actually struggled with this boss fight the first few times I played it. And of course, when you get higher up, there's harder elements to avoid, like fireballs. So, in the end, there's a ton of stuff to avoid on screen. This boss fight looks really good also for the game, and it is impressive that they put a boss fight of this magnitude on a handheld. Like, it's pretty crazy. And this boss fight is a bit challenging towards the end, where there's so much stuff. You got fireballs, you got lava that's rising even faster when you get to the second floor. You got Bowser swatting at you, less and less platforms spawn, and of course when he breathes fire, it all gets overwhelming, and it could be pretty tough. And that's what I like about it, because the new Super Mario Bros., one thing it really needs is some challenge, and I'm glad that there's a certain element of difficulty in these games. 4. New Super Mario Bros. Wii. What? 2 new Super Mario Bros. Games on this list? I know. Crazy, right? But this is by far the best out of any 2D Mario boss fight. Because, obviously, it would start with the classic, oh, it's not really Bowser. It's tricking you to make it seem like it's the original Bowser fight. And then, Bowser grows giant. Psst, I know, how original. But at the time, this was actually interesting because New Super Mario Bros. DS had a normal, standard 2D Bowser fight, and this made it seem like this was going to have it too. But guess what? Peach turns around, and it's really Kamek. What? Plot twist? Anyways, Bowser grows giant and reveals that there's actually more to the room than we were shown. He starts spitting fireballs at the wall, and it reveals more of the room. And you gotta dodge these giant fireballs while also trying to make him hit the part of the room that you need to progress. And it's fun. Like, it's kind of reminds me of Super Mario Bros. 3, the original, where you had to, like, lead him to the bricks. And that's kind of what you have to do here. You have to lead Bowser's fireballs to the parts of the room that you need to get through. And yeah, it's definitely the most interesting, and it's a new idea, which is something the new Super Mario Bros. Series normally doesn't have. And there's also hidden compartments that you could get Bowser to break that have secret power-ups or coins in it. It's great fun, and it can get hard at parts, which, again, is always a good thing for the new Super Mario Bros. Series. This is definitely the best Bowser fight out of the 2D Mario series, by far. 3. Super Mario Odyssey. This game introduced so much cool stuff to the series, and one of them was a lifelong dream of mine. What if you could play as Bowser? Now, yes, this technically isn't the final fight. The final Bowser fight has you fighting in a hat, but I consider this to be basically the final Bowser fight because of how cool it is. You're basically in a crumbling moon rock temple spaceship thing. I don't really know. And you're carrying Peach on your back, and you have to use Bowser's super strength to claw your way through rocks and other obstacles that might get in the way. But you also want to be careful, because if you jump, then the ground beneath you crumbles because of how strong you are. And then there's an 8-bit section where you breathe fire and destroy bricks, and it's just so cool. And in the end, you land on the moon, and you and Bowser become friends again, I guess, and Peach rejects you. That's right, Mario didn't need that loser princess anyway. This fight is so neat, and it will definitely go down in history as an instant classic. Even though this game is relatively new, this fight is already considered one of the best Mario fights because of how neat it is. Like, you spend the entire game capturing different objects and stuff, and then, of course, you get to capture Bowser. Let's be honest. That was kind of a given, but it was still a really cool surprise. And I still can't get my mind over how neat it is that you actually get to play as Bowser. It's still so cool to me. 2. Super Mario Galaxy. As I mentioned before, this was going to be on the list one way or another. For starters, the opera music, I love it. I love it so freaking much. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. And the boss fight is awesome too. This fully utilizes the spin jump, as you gotta whack Bowser around like a billion times on his shell. And he'll turn into rocks, he'll spit giant balls of fire at you, he'll shoot beams of rays, I guess, at you. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. The boss fight also looks stunning. Like, seriously, if I showed this to somebody who's never heard of Mario Galaxy before, would they believe that this is running on a Wii? No. I don't think so. This is some Wii U or even Switch level graphics. And I still remember the first time I beat this boss fight because it is unforgettable. The big opera music, the beautiful lights, the amazing mechanics. It is just such a great boss fight. One, Super Mario 3D World. Not only is this visually pleasing, and again, the music is really good, but the concept of this boss fight is so cool. Bowser actually uses Mario's power-ups. That's right, your ears aren't deceiving you. Bowser uses the very thing that destroys him in almost every Mario game against you. Bowser gets hold of the newly added Super Bell, and he claws at you, he breaks through walls, he climbs up a giant building. And this level could be kind of tough if you're going for green stars and stamps. It is so cool. It's wild that Nintendo would do something in a game as linear and kind of bland as 3D World. And it's just amazing. And later on, Bowser gets hold of another power-up, the Double Cherry, to create clones of himself that get in your way even more. They break windows, they climb up the buildings, they get in your way, they destroy platforms, and I'm beyond shocked that a game like Super Mario 3D World has such wild ideas such as this. And this auto-scrolling part right here could actually trip you up a lot if you aren't careful. And then, when you climb all the way to the top of Bowser's Tower, and you destroy that giant power block, it gives you an ending that is oh so satisfying. Well, gee whiz, that was exciting. I'm at a point where I've played pretty much every single Mario game, so picking only 10 Bowser fights to put on this list was pretty tough. But hey, if you stayed to the end of the video, thank you very much. Be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to check out my podcast, The Gaming News with Landon. Check out my second channel, Super Lando Plays 2, and check out my TikTok, at super_Lando Plays. Be sure to hit that bell icon so you could stay up to date with my newest videos, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And with that, I will see you in the next video, Lando players. Have a great day.